So, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. Look, I'm probably a lot like you guys. Now, I know that June is, well, this year is going quick, isn't it? It's kind of coming at us pretty damn quick. We're already in April, and most of us are anticipating this hearing that's going to happen around the Brian Koberger situation in June. And for some people, that's a world away. But like I say, in reality, it's coming pretty quick. But while we wait, for those of us who are fully invested and have, we don't have skin in the game so much, but we can't drop it. We can't let it go. We can't help but go back and look at some of the elements of the case. And one element of this case that continues to stick out to me is the 8-hour delay. The 8-hour delay with respect of the 911 call. Now, I've done videos on the 911 call that explains the 911 call scenario quite in depth. Now, is it a true account of that? Who knows? It's supposedly from someone who was close to the case. Don't worry, I didn't get the information from Ashley Banfield or News Nation. So it is, there's more credibility there. Sorry, News Nation. Not. But look, at the end of the day, there was this 8-hour delay. Now, originally, it was reported that, look, this was frozen shock phase. She froze. She froze for 8 hours. And that story never quite sat right. I saw multiple people, from doctors to legal experts to ex-FBI, speaking about this specific thing. And none of them really bought into it. Don't get me wrong, some did, but the majority of them, they didn't. And I, myself, although I'm not an expert in this field, I found it very difficult to accept that Dylan had seen something so bad that it made her frozen for 8 hours and unable to compute what was going on, to react, respond, call 911. I just didn't buy it. I just did not buy it. We hear countless situations where even young children, as young as 4 and 5, have called 911 in the event of a home invasion or an attack, or if a parent or family member becomes ill. And yet we see a college student in a situation where her friends are slain. There is an intruder that she apparently sees and sees leave, and yet does nothing to check on her friends and to subsequently call 911. In fact, it wasn't even Dylan who called 911 at all. We hear that it was, in fact, another person who had came by the property later after seeing distressed housemates out in the street. Now, for some of you, you are avid supporters of Dylan Mortensen. I get it. In your eyes, she is a victim, and she should be left alone. But look, she's not going to be left alone in court. The defence are going to pull apart her story. They're going to request her to explain how on one hand she can be frozen in shock, but then on the other hand be able to give a detailed representation of who and what she saw that night and what she heard. And it's this what she heard that I feel caused the flip-flop from the frozen shock phase to the party. This was a party house. There was guests. She had to tell them to shut the fuck up because she was trying to sleep. She saw someone leave, and that was that. Now, could it be possible that originally they were trying to push the frozen shock phase and the fact that she'd seen this perpetrator, but because it brought up so much of a backlash, even I think it was Ethan's family had raised the question as to, hold on a second, you were there, you heard, you saw, why didn't you call 911? And when law enforcement and the people behind the curtain start seeing this, they have to react to it, and that is then changed. and it's changed to a more plausible situation, a situation that would instead see a young girl in a party house telling people to shut up because she's trying to sleep, and subsequently she goes to sleep. But this is the problem that I have. So when she talks about the sounds that she hears, she talks about the fact that she is, and let's remember, she's on the second floor. She's on the same floor as Ethan and Xana. So not on the bottom floor that we originally believed she was, and was stated within mainstream media that she was with, Bethany right down at the bottom, which kind of give us some kind of ballast there. There was some form of protection for Dylan at this stage, because we believed that, well, this is what protected her from the perpetrator. She was completely out of the way, and that's perhaps why she didn't hear so many things. But that change of story, and when it comes out that she's on the second floor, again, it changes the dynamic of what happens within that house. So we have a situation where she apparently hears what she thinks are people playing with the dog, which is Murphy. Side note here, Buddy the dog. I didn't know that the skinned dog's name was Buddy, by the way. That was a rabbit hole right at the beginning. I very, very quickly disregarded that as having any connection to 1122 Kings Road. So I didn't follow it, and that's why I didn't know that dog's name. But anyway, back to where we were. So she then comes out, and not once but twice she has to address the noise, saying that she's trying to sheep, shut the fuck up, so on and so forth. But then we hear that the audio on the camera from the adjacent building is stating that it hears thuds, it hears whimpering. So it makes you then think, well, hold on a second, what does that sound like in the actual property? If the camera is picking up a thud, if the camera is picking up whimpering, Dylan is saying that she's already heard stuff and had to shout up and tell them to shut the fuck up. You can imagine the noise that it would take someone to become that frustrated that they come out and they kind of let rip. So what was the delay really about? We also have to question if she did truly see the intruder. She saw them face to face. She saw the fact that she saw them so close. She saw their bushy eyebrows and the mask and the build and the height. So did she not see the wielding of a weapon? Was there no weapon on this person's person? Was there no blood? Was there nothing? Did she really see nothing else? And she simply saw someone walking towards her with a mask on, dressed in black, walk out of the property, and then all of a sudden it's dead silent, it's dead quiet, and not even address anything else in the property. She didn't think of checking on her friends, because we know that she was on the same floor, as aforementioned, as Ethan and Xana. And we also know from what it states in the affidavit that that officer had walked round the corner, and from the hallway he had seen, sadly, Ethan's body in the doorway. So she wouldn't have even had to have gone into the room. The door was already open. She would have seen from the hallway. So did she really not check anything? There is now speculation also regarding the identifications that were found in the glove box within a glove in Brian Kohberger's car. People are finding it very interesting that that wasn't stated that that identification belonged to a victim, but of a resident. And again, the speculation is that that identification could have been Dylan Mortenson's. Now, does it make sense that Dylan Mortenson and the perpetrator, who many, many people believe now is 100% Brian Kohberger, did they have communication? Did they speak to one another? Was there a warning given? Did Brian Kohberger take that identification and tell Dylan not to call 911? Again, this is just speculation, but I can't help but still look at the Dylan Mortensen story and try and put myself in the shoes of someone in that situation and understand why there was such a delay in calling 911. Even if someone had gone to sleep, it was a party house, they'd gone to sleep, they'd been out drinking, trying to sleep, and they went back in their room. She'd heard all this new noise. She'd had to come out. She'd had to shout at people. She's heard what she's heard. The camera's picked up thuds. The camera has picked up whimpering, which she must have then heard herself. She's heard someone, by her own omission, she has heard someone say, "I'm here to help you." And she does absolutely nothing. Someone explain that to me. Someone explain why someone in that situation would do absolutely nothing for hours. Because I cannot consolidate that. I can't do it. And now I'm just thinking of how that is going to be consolidated in a court of law. With someone, with a defence trying to save a potential person's life who has been blamed for a crime of this magnitude, they are going to be gunning for every single element of this case. Like the stuff that we've heard with regards to Stickergate and this Giglio situation, that is going to be poured over. The knife sheath and the DNA not being there on the first test, being there on the second test. All of these things are going to be scrutinised massively. We've seen in the Letitia Storch case how in-depth these cases are having to go to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the perpetrator did what they did. So there will be certain elements of this that need to have scrutiny and be able to be understood. And I cannot, for the life of me, make that make sense. Can you? If you can, let me know down below. And I'll catch you all in the next one.